Welcome to our Injurati studio. We're located at the CTICC in Cape Town for the African Utility Week 2014. And we have Michelle Davies here from Eversheds. Her position is Head of Clean Energy and Sustainability. And my question to you before we started was, your presence in Africa seems to be growing at quite a phenomenal rate. And I was interested as to why that is, and what your interest is in the African continent in an electricity perspective.
So as a firm, we're really focused on Africa for a number of reasons, but because we think that it represents a fantastic opportunity because of the amount of infrastructure work principally and investment that is needed. And what is fantastic is the global appetite to focus on Africa and help Africa, and we want to be a part of that. In terms of electricity, I focus on renewable energy. So Africa is one of the few parts of the world that has absolutely superb natural resource. It has water for hydro, it has biomass for biomass to energy and heat, it has fantastic solar irradiation, and it also has very, very good wind resource. So it represents a very attractive continent for the development of renewable energy, and that's why I personally and my clean energy team, which is advised on over 30 gigawatts of renewable energy globally, we have over 100 lawyers, that's why we're now really starting to focus on the continent. And our clients, in addition to NICE, are coming into Africa, so we're following them as they begin to invest on the continent.
Why the interest all of a sudden?
I think
where have they been?
Yeah, I know, and it's bizarre because we were focusing on very much on the Middle East last year, and a number of our clients that were focused on the Middle East really then started to look at Africa. And I think two things have happened. One, the South African government, which initiated the renewable energy program here, has instilled a sense of belief in Africa and what can be achieved here.
Is that the general perception you find that is growing?
That is the general perception.
Interesting.
And I think as well there are other things happening in the renewable energy sector which are allowing Africa to become an attractive market. So for example, in solar, panel prices are coming down. That makes it slightly easier for developers to focus on what might otherwise have been considered difficult jurisdictions to bear the cost involved in establishing a presence and establishing projects in some of the more challenging countries. But there's a real sense that Africa is moving forward, political risk is reducing, and basically companies and investors can no longer sit back on the sidelines and not be active in what they see as being a massive growth market.
It's a huge gap, isn't it, that no one has harnessed, really?
Exactly. And so what we do, as most of our clients do, they will analyse which countries have a real need, a real driver for renewable energy. So if you look at certain parts of the Middle East, the driver is the need to export oil.
Yes.
Because they are losing money by utilising oil internally. It makes more sense as long as the cost of renewable energy is less than the export price of oil.
Yes.
Export the oil and develop renewable energy.
Plus they're introducing a new energy and new resources into their energy mix.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
In Africa, it's different, and in Africa, it's about energy security. And so renewable energy, as you said, there's a big gap between demand and supply, and renewable energy technologies are in a position to fill that gap. So they're absolutely key. And for a number of participants, there is a real advantage to first mover position in the market.
Right.
So they simply can't sit on the sidelines anymore and are now really focused on the whole country.
Absolutely. And you know, the movement from, for example, Europe to the African continent, do you think it's because of the complexity and perhaps the unreliability of subsidies going on in Europe at the moment, you know, where subsidies are being withdrawn and they get changed, and it's just become a very messy situation in Europe.
So
do you think that's why they're flocking to the African continent, because they're just fed up
with
the situation in Europe?
It's not that they're fed up, it's really fascinating to me personally to see how quickly capital mobilises and moves. And so what I'm always doing is looking at where is the capital coming from and where is it going to. And you need to sort of understand the reasons why. Yes, people are fed up with what's happening in Europe, but then the focus is less on Europe and more on countries like Africa and the Middle East. because Europe hit a massive financial crisis and governments found it very, very difficult to support technologies which were seen incorrectly, in my view, as increasing energy bills. So no government really wanted to be in a position, no opposition party really wanted to be in a position, save for a very few, where they were seen to be promoting technologies which at the end of the day meant people couldn't put food on the table because they were having to pay for their electricity bills. So energy has become a very politicised issue in Europe, and as a result we have had some regulatory uncertainty. But in addition, Europe has set renewable energy targets. They are close to being met. So there isn't much room for growth in Europe. So all of those who have invested a lot in the renewable energy sector are looking for the new markets so that they can grow their business within the new markets. Europe is more or less where it's going to be.
Well, there's certainly a new trend that's taking place, and we're writing a lot about it, in Girardi at the moment, just all these energy communities that are starting to formulate.
Yes.
And actually going off grid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's almost a new trend taking place there as well. And I'm just wondering if perhaps Africa is there already, because there's so many, sparsely situated populations within Africa. They don't have access to, grid power. So what are you focusing on exactly? Are you focusing on the cities, the bustling metropolis of African cities, or are you trying to connect these sparsely populated populations that have never received grid electricity?
So we're taking a holistic approach because we think that is the more sustainable, not in the green sense, but in the economic sense, the more sustainable route to really developing a presence in a country in the energy sector.
Yes.
So we will look at all of this, and before I came to do this interview I was talking to one of my colleagues back in London, Indraj Mangat, who leads our debt financing work, and I said, there are three key themes that are coming out of the conference, and one of those is off-grid distributed renewable energy, and that is clearly an area that we need to focus on, and it's being utilised not only for communities that need residential power, but it's also being utilised by large industrials and commercials who need a consistent supply of energy. So,
which is happening now in South Africa. I've seen in Limpopo area in South Africa. In southern Africa, the mines are starting to build their own solar farms because they're just fed up with the lack of reliability. They can't depend on this, this intermittent supply that they're receiving all the time.
So it's
going to be a huge game changer.
Exactly, and I was at the CEO Forum dinner last night with a company that supplies into the mining industry, which is setting up its own renewable energy projects because it needs that consistent power to supply into the mining industry, which will also have its own renewable energy. So you're absolutely right, Denise. Off-grid renewable distributed energy has huge potential across Africa.
Exactly, and not to mention the potential for energy storage. As soon as we've got cheap options, it's again going to be a huge game changer. Once we've got that sorted, because
that's the game changer, and that's the buzzword or buzzwords. That's what's on everybody's minds, and you will see that a lot of the conferences now that are emerging are on energy storage, because once that is resolved, then many of these technologies become even more viable. They achieve grid parity, and they can stand alone and help countries achieve their economic growth.
Exactly, because without energy, it's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
What are you hoping to attain at this conference? This is my last question, unless you have anything else that you'd like to add. Why are you here?
Okay, so we have a number of offices throughout Africa. We've also set up something called the African Law Institute, where we are bringing together even more law firms to work together and to share best practice and knowledge and help utilise international standards in Africa. And we are here, I'm here personally because I need to really understand which countries are the key countries I need to be focusing on and why, and then what do we need to be doing to help the renewable energy sector in those countries. So for me, this is, we're acting on a whole host of projects in Africa at the moment, renewables and others.
Yes.
I
see there's one, you're dealing with one really large project currently.
There is, yes. So and this is quite important, the Nigerian government and the Canadian government have entered into an agreement for the development of 3 gigawatts, $5 billion US worth of solar project in Nigeria, and that has been the project management of that has been mandated to one of the world's leading solar developers, Sky Power, and they are our client. So we will be involved in helping to implement that program, and that's something we're hugely excited about. But whilst we're involved in a number of projects, I need to get a much better sense of where we need to focus. So that's why we're here.
What is needed, bankability, regulation, there's a lot to consider, I guess, in all these projects.
And to meet the people who are at the conference who are very, very high level, CEOs, managing directors, CFOs, meet them and understand what their concerns are, again, so we're in a better position to help.
Right, this is my last question. The conference has been going on a couple of hours now. Are you picking up a particular viewpoint, a particular trend? Are you disappointed in perhaps something that hasn't developed since last year? I'm not sure if you had is there something that you, if I could use you as a roaming reporter, what are you picking up? Is it good stuff? Is it bad stuff?
Oh, it's good stuff,
and
it's basically the 3 key things I'm picking up, and maybe this is because I'm more in tune to it than anything else, is the need for a cleaner approach. So there is certainly a consciousness that energy has to be utilised in a carbon efficient way, and that includes gas. So gas is relatively speaking a clean technology. So I'm picking up a need to focus on carbon efficiency. I'm picking up a need to focus on energy efficiency, and one of the speakers in the keynote session now was focusing on that. She called it energy management. It's absolutely critical.
It's not just about generation, is it?
Exactly, it's the low-hanging fruit. If you can manage your energy consumption in an efficient way, you need to utilise less energy. So there's a big focus on that. And then the other key area of focus is the one you mentioned to me, which is distributed energy. Whether that's renewables or otherwise, that's clearly a big area of growth.
Interesting. So you've picked that up just in a couple of hours that you've been here.
Yesterday. I was here yesterday, and I attended various sessions yesterday, and I was at the CEO dinner last night. So it's been a evolving discussion, really.
Well, this has been an incredibly interesting chat. I could go on longer, but I don't think I'm allowed to. But thank you so much for your time. Perhaps we could connect maybe to the end of the conference and see what else you've managed to pick up. I'd be
delighted to do that.
But we wish you an enjoyable conference and much success.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll catch up with you at the end.
Thank you,
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
To our viewers, thank you very much for your time. And please note that we do have a whole range of interviews that are going to be running throughout the 2-day conference, so feel free to tap on those and have a look. Thank you.